The offense didn't even score a touchdown, but Nate Irving forced a fumble. Whoa. That's not good. The Denver Broncos and the San Francisco 49ers played their first preseason game on Thursday night. And if you live on the West Coast, like me, you had to wait until 10 fucking p.m. to watch the pre-recorded game on the NFL Network. And if you're also like me, you missed the first series of the game because DirecTV decided to bend you over and give you a little shiny little fuck by saying you weren't subscribed to the NFL Network. Not only am I subscribed to the NFL Network, I paid extra for the Sunday Ticket Max that very day. So apparently, when you give DirecTV even more money up front, your service is shittier. It's the same reason you never pay a hooker the full amount up front. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. Anyway, back to the game. The first thing I noticed in the preseason game is that Colin Kaepernick managed to put on the correct helmet with the correct logo on it. And for those of you who don't know, this knuckle fucker, Colin Kaepernick, wore a Dolphins hat earlier this summer when he took his girlfriend to some douche beach. I think it's outside of Malibu. Anyway, here's the picture. And apparently he was worried about matching his hat with his underwear, which I can actually understand because I too am a little bit gay. Now, am I jealous of Colin Kaepernick? Am I jealous that he got into ESPN's body issue? Yeah. If you've been following my Twitter feed for the last 4 years, you know I send in nude pictures to ESPN every fucking year to try to get in that issue. And not once have they even acknowledged that I applied. Does my girlfriend think that I have just as good a body as Colin Kaepernick? If I were to quote her, she would say, no. I think that the subject's debatable. Some people like hairless, tattooed men with perfect bodies. Some people like tattooless men with hairy bodies. Am I mad at ESPN? Of course not. Just because they don't acknowledge my nude pictures doesn't mean I'm going to stop watching ESPN. That'd make me an idiot, and I'm not a fucking idiot. I have my own TV show or YouTube show. An idiot can't do all of this by himself. I'll tell you that much. Fucking ESPN. Okay, so now, the reason we're all here. The Denver Broncos. I think everybody was a little surprised to see Peyton Manning running the pistol offense. Let's take a look. The other thing I wanted to see was Brock Osweiler. Now, I don't want to be too hard on him because he's a giant and because it's still preseason, but my advice to Brock Osweiler is to Aaron Rodgers it. Let Manning win us some Super Bowls, and while he does so, learn everything you can from him. Then come in, win us a Super Bowl, grow some cool facial hair. Then you get that discount double check money. And that's good money. I heard Aaron Rodgers makes a lot on that. I was most excited to see how our running game has improved. And I think everybody today is talking about the undrafted player, CJ fucking Anderson, tearing it up last night. CJ Anderson looks like a mix of Ray Rice, Doug Martin, and Maurice Jones-Drew. You take the best attributes those three guys have, you put them into a pile, and that's what CJ Anderson's gonna be. And if his running style looks familiar, it's because he's the illegitimate love child of former Denver Broncos running back Mike Anderson and current Buffalo Bills running back CJ Spiller, hence the name CJ Anderson, which they aptly named him. When asked about this, Mike Anderson said, and I quote, "It was just a one-night stand between me and CJ. Personally, I blame Von Miller for the whole debacle. Von peer pressured me into smoking some of that AK-47 and Big Buddha cheese. And CJ and I ended up making a child together." End quote. For all of you squares who don't know what AK-47 and Big Buddha cheese is, they're types of marijuana drugs. Now, speaking of Denver's favorite drug smoker, Von Miller's appeal is August 15th. Let's mark that day in our calendars because that decision is going to be important. He could be suspended for 4 games. He could be hopefully suspended for none. I'm personally praying for none. To what am I praying? I don't know. Because the only God I know is John Elway. and his lawyer flat out told me I had to stay 500 feet away from him at all times. And let me tell you something, it's kind of hard to idolize somebody if you can't pray outside of their house in the middle of the fucking night. And not that it matters, but the Broncos won the game with a jaw-dropping score of 10-6. Jesus Christ, it was like a fucking baseball game. Now on the defensive side of the ball, Nate Irvin looked pretty solid at the middle linebacker spot. And I think Sean Phillips is going to fill in nicely to ease some of the pain of losing Elvis Doomerville. Let's take a look at a little tribute video I made for our old friend Elvis. My conclusion after watching our first preseason game, and you should listen to this because I'm an expert, is that the whole team needs work. Everybody needs to get better, except for one player, and that player was Britton Colquitt. He dropped 2 or 3 punts down inside the 5-yard line. Now I couldn't find his exact stats from the game because 1, I didn't look very hard. 2, nobody Googles punter stats except for other punters and scouts. But if I did find his stats, you'd have seen here that he played a hell of a game last night. That's it for this first episode of That's Good Broncos, the only Bronco show that's shot out of its dead drug dealer's basement. I'm Brandon Perna. Thanks for watching. Until next time, fuck the Raiders. These ones are my favorite.
It's like I spilled milk all over your blouse by accident or on purpose.